This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the month of March, and of course, Easter was just around the corner. And of course, right now, between now and Easter Sunday, we have these meatless Friday nights. And you can enjoy a great meal at Sorrento's Village at 2318 North Mannheim Road in Melrose Park. Meatless Friday nights, all-you-can-eat buffet. You'll never been to a buffet like this before. Spectacular dishes prepared each week from 4:30 in the evening until 7:30 p.m. Only $9.95 per person. So for a meatless Friday night, you can enjoy a great buffet at Sorrento's Village Restaurant, 2318 North Mannheim Road in Melrose Park. And their phone number is 847-455-9440. Now, Easter's, they have a great brunch. Easter is Sunday, April the 8th. Celebrate our champagne brunch and feast on an abundance of Italian meat, fish, pasta favorites, plentiful soups and salads, carving station, Sorrento's outstanding pizza, an incredible assortment of homemade sweets and pastries, and much, much more. There are 3 settings on Easter Sunday. One is at 11:30 a.m., another one is at 1:30 p.m., and the last one will be at 3:30 p.m. So make your reservations now. Call 847-455-9440. They're at 2318 North Mannheim Road in Melrose Park. They are about a block that is south of Fullerton Avenue on Mannheim on the west side of the street, and they have got a huge parking lot. So enjoy Easter by stopping out at Sorrento's Village Restaurant, located at 2318 North Mannheim Road in Melrose Park, and you won't be sorry. And you are listening to Meet the Chicago Historians from the John DeVito Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Network. And now back to our panel and our moderator, Jack Ryan. Go ahead, Jack.
Hello there, friends. This is Jack Ryan. We're back from our break. Today's topic is no one topic at all, but we got trivial matters, little things here and there that we can remember from days gone by. That could be the stores we shopped at, the neighborhood theaters. It could be brands of cigarettes, candy bars, bicycles, wagons, your radio flyer, your high-low flyer, whatever we can go to, which would give us all plenty of material. So we had a little warm-up, and now we're going to try to get into our own topic.
Agenda.
That's the word, agenda.
There's our agenda.
I was lost for that. One more thing about 1912. This would be Chicago tie-in too. This picture that just came out, John Carter, is Edgar Rice Burroughs' character, John Carter of Mars, from the pulp magazines. So that's 100 years old story, as is his most famous Tarzan of the Apes, I think was published in All Story in 1912. And he never thought there would be a sequel because it was too fantastic, of course. And he lived on the Northwest Side. He lived in Oak Park, Edgar Rice Burroughs. He was a salesman or something. He thought he could do better than the stories that were being written for the magazine, so he gave it a try. He was about 40 years old, and obviously he succeeded very well. So, anywho,
Jack, are you going to reintroduce the panel?
Sure, why not?
The break.
Let's start from. This time we'll do our Mystery Prodigal Son guest first, Vic Justino.
Hi, Vic Justino. Glad to be aboard for the history.
He's the MC Emeritus and a founding member, right? Were you a founder of this group?
Founder of a lot of things, yeah. A founder of founder.
First you got to lose something to found it, though, right?
Yeah, right.
Yes, sir. John?
I'm Richard J. Daley, the mayor of the city of Chicago.
Chicago.
And in honor of the great St. Patrick's Day, I want to wish you may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back, and may the good Lord hold you in the holler of his hand. And a happy St. Patrick's Day for all the city of Chicago.
And one thing, get this straight, guys. The policeman's not here to create disorder.
Policeman's
He's here to preserve disorder. Remember that?
Right.
They used to always give that quote on
Conservation.
WMQ.
And I'm John Escacholco, and I'm glad to be here with my friends and colleagues talking about history.
And I'm Patty Bowler. I'm alderman of the 43rd Ward, and Chicago ain't ready for reform.
Right.
And that he was my
Could you pour us a drink, Patty?
Absolutely.
You were at last of the saloon keeper.
That's right. But me and Charlie Weber, and I am Kenneth Caesar Little, and I'm from Wright College.
Have you ever heard that song Win Strachey would sing in the 43rd Ward?
Yes, I have. Yeah. And a friend of mine's got a recording of it. He made a recording. Yeah.
Everybody remember Win Strachey? Anybody?
Sure. Yeah. I did.
Founder of the Old Town School one.
Yeah, right. And he did a commercial for Linnell cookies. Linnell.
Maurice Linnell.
Oh yeah, there was a man came from from
And Cramel
Sweden,
Milk.
and then he came over Cramel Milk.
Yeah, he did that.
Yeah.
When you
yeah.
come back up,
He always wore the. He always tried.
Did you bring the cramel? No, I forgot.
Well, what you're talking about?
Come
Those were
back
the-
up. Don't
those were
forget to
Muppet
bring the
stuff,
cramel.
early
Yeah,
Muppet
that
stuff.
was the Muppets.
But
I think that was his first.
Win Strachey used to always dress like a lumberjack. He had the flannel shirt and the
Yeah.
guitar.
He was on
Great
Stud's
voice.
Place, and I did some. He was doing research at the Historical Society because he had performed in so many theaters and halls, etc. And they had pictures, and he was able to identify him. Identify people he worked with, and he was from the Old Town area. His father had been a minister at I don't know the name of whatever it was at Willow and Orchard though.
St. Procopius?
St. Procopius on
His father
no.
was a priest?
No, he was a minister, and calm down. And they just tore the church down, but the school is still there. It's on
buildings
the
in condos.
yeah.
Next up.
I'm Rich Lang. I cannot top the previous speakers.
Oh yes, you can.
Oh, no.
And I'm Jeanette Frontier, and I like to say I represent some of history, and I'm going to interpret the exposition of 1893. I wasn't there, couldn't make it. But what was introduced was Cracker Jack, shredded wheat, and Pabst Blue Ribbon.
What do you
What do you have?
What do you have?
have?
Blue
That's
Ribbon.
why-
Pabst.
That's where the blue ribbon came from. They won the blue ribbon. though.
Yeah,
That's
right.
right. So
How did that ever turn out for those people? Because I've never heard of that. Cracker Jack, Pabst. Yeah.
Were
I think it was a
successful?
fine
Yeah.
product.
Oh, maybe not in my
Real- it-
neighborhood.
it-
We were too poor.
It has a good purpose.
The great showman Flo Ziegfeld was also
Right.
there on the
That's
Midway.
right.
Yeah.
With
His-
Sandar the strong
Eugene
man.
Sandow
Sandow.
was this.
Yeah.
He got the idea instead of just doing the strong stuff, do the posing. So it's sort of the father of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And Sandow's real name was Frederick Mueller, born in Prussia with a P in 1879. So,
Wasn't he there with
No,
Hackenschmidt too?
well, no.
No.
Hackenschmidt was born in, I think it was Estonia, but he was of German descent.
Oh.
George Hackenschmidt,
Yeah.
the wrestler and strongman, and he lived well into about 90 something, I think.
Wow.
The philosopher, and later on
Yeah.
lived in London.
At the moment, I'm going to interject something. I just read a great book. I don't want to go off track. It's called The Devil in the White City
Oh, yeah.
by Larson. And if you want to have some hair-raising good moments and also learn a lot by reading the book, I think it's a good read. I've passed it on to some of my family.
It's interesting. I'm digging up some of my old things, and I found my article in Crane's Magazine, 1983.
No kidding.
The Monster of the Midway.
Yeah,
Not the Bears.
Not the Bears.
Yeah,
No.
on Dr. Mudgett, and I
Yeah.
wrote 3 articles for him.
I know
at the
you were
Bruce
very,
Holmes.
very versed.
And I
on
won the
it.
Crane's trivia contest
ya?
that one year.
Isn't that
Yeah,
amazing?
so and I said, oh, here, I've been looking for... I also found my old picture with Mark Lawrence and John Agar.
Oh, really?
That show.
Oh,
Oh,
movie
yeah.
show?
Well, Mark Lawrence, of course, was always a heavy in the movies. John Agar was from Chicago, from Agar Packing.
Right.
Yeah,
And a friend of mine had him at their home
That's right.
on House Street, and we had dinner there, and I sat with Mark Lawrence, John Agar, and I said, Mark Lawrence, you were in every gangster movie. He said, yeah, kid, so what?
Yeah, so what?
Yeah.
You got a problem with that?
Yeah. So, and then
Yeah.
I said to John Agar, I said, at the time, I said, we had Agar Hands. He's Victor. I'm from Chicago, born in Columbus Hospital, Northwestern University. Those were my relatives. And I said, you and Shirley Temple? He said,
Yeah.
yeah, I
He
got
was-
married right after the war,
Yeah.
47, I think.
Yeah.
He was, he was always like below John Wayne, the dashing young
Yeah.
cavalryman,
Yeah,
never
he was
topped
number
him.
two guy.
Sands of Iwo
A lot of
Jima.
horror
Yeah.
movies, yeah.
Yeah.
In the 50s, he did
Yeah,
those
I
sci-fi
know, and Agar
stuff.
Packing was around. They could still be around for all
I
I
think they
know.
are.
but,
Agar,
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I know of that. And I Shirley Temple, as an adult, she was in the background, but she was like an ambassador for a while, and she's a
And
sweet-
she's still
she's still around.
She
She's
was
very
involved
involved.
with the State Department. For a
Yeah,
long
she's
time,
a sweetheart.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
a sweetheart.
I would say that if somebody wanted to envision themselves being whoever that was up on the screen, I went through a few years of the Shirley Temple.
Me too.
Can I give you a trivia?
That's part
Let
of
me
your
give you a trivia
trivia.
question. There are 3 stars who are still alive who were big Hollywood names before World War II.
Mickey Rooney.
Before World War II. Mickey Rooney,
Mickey Rooney.
Ernest
Olivia de
Borgnine,
Havilland.
Olivia de Havilland,
Joan Fontaine.
Shirley Temple.
Joan Fontaine,
You're right.
but
And,
but
of course,
Shirley,
Shirley
Temple, Mickey Rooney, and were young, were child stars, and
Right.
Olivia de Havilland, who was an adult. I mean, she only, to my knowledge, the only adult
Is she
who
still
was
with
a
us?
big
And
star.
how
In
about-
the, still alive.
Deanna Durbin.
Who was a big star?
Yeah, she is.
She passed away. I think. She,
Yeah,
No,
oh,
she's
you're
still-
saying
I thought she
living.
passed
No, she
No, she's
passed
still
away.
living.
No,
When?
Deanna Durbin passed away.
When?
Two
No,
years ago.
No, no.
Yeah.
Really?
Singer?
I looked it up.
She'd be
She was a
Right over.
singer.
Wanna
She
bet you,
could
bet you,
also
bet you?
sing.
Well, I'm not gonna. I thought I heard an obituary on it.
Ernest Borgnine.
No, he didn't get into after the
Yeah.
war.
Afterwards.
You know where
And
Ernest?
Deanna Durbin was not as big as.
She just quit. She didn't
As-
care anymore.
No, she was only
She had a
4'6".
short career.
Yeah. We
It was,
went to,
She was well known.
She
for
wasn't
that.
as big as Mickey Rooney.
She had a
Peggy
great
Ann
singing
Garner.
voice, though.
Peggy Ann Garner also was
Peggy
somebody.
Ann
else.
Garner?
Yeah.
I'm talking
Oh,
about
you're talking about
box office
Right.
names.
The
No.
Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Peggy Ann Garner.
Yeah, I think so.
That's
Liv-
my favorite movie.
Olivia de
Isn't that
Havilland.
something that is just such a? That
Something-
reminds me of some people in my family.
Me too.
Yeah.
James
Me too.
Dunn, isn't it?
James Dunn, yeah, one of
We did a
yeah.
couple of TV series.
Yeah.
Lloyd Nolan was
Yeah.
the
But I thought I saw so much of even myself in that.
Yeah.
Even how she looked and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah,
you truly were entertained when you saw a
Yeah.
movie.
yeah.
Yeah, you could see she really loved the guy. He was
My,
a
my
drink,
mom
a lush,
sewed
a dreamer,
very
but-
well, and I'd come
Yeah.
home and say, Shirley Temple had this certain dress on. And I would have it at the end of the week, and it was like, no, I don't want her. You just, you always, and that was we didn't have TV.
Yeah.
And Louis
No.
B. Mayer wanted her to star in The Wizard of Oz,
And they- no.
they could not work out the details, and
Yeah.
wound up going to one of their minor contract players.
Mm-hmm.
You know who's
Judy
still
Garland.
around but not quite that old is what was the child star in Meet Me in St. Louis?
Oh, Judy Garland?
No,
No, I think
Margaret O'Brien?
Little girl.
Margaret O'Brien.
Margaret O'Brien.
O'Brien,
She's
yeah.
still around, but
Yeah.
she isn't before the war.
Yeah,
though.
what I'm saying is people that were box office names
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
30s, big
Yeah.
stars. Now, I mean, sure, there are bit
They were
players
a
and
draw.
character actors,
They were a true draw.
but people,
Yeah.
Mickey Rooney,
Mickey Rooney,
Shirley Temple, and Olivia de
Mickey
Havilland.
Rooney, Joe Yule Jr.
Yeah,
That's
right.
He dated to the Silence, the Mickey
yeah.
McGuire comedies, which were kind of a knockoff of the Our Gang, although they were based on Fontaine Fox's Toonerville Trolley. This producer was so cheap. This Larry Darmore, he had Joe Yule Jr. change his name to Mickey McGuire so he wouldn't have to pay royalties. He thought.
Yeah.
Didn't work though. How's that for being
Yeah.
cheap?
As
I
Jack,
met Mickey Rooney.
Jackie
I
Coogan.
have
met
too.
Mickey Rooney.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jackie
yeah.
Coogan. Is he
Oh,
Coogan
no,
or
he-
Coogan?
Coogan passed away, and
So
Jackie,
did Cooper.
Jackie
Okay.
and
Cooper
Jackie
passed
But
Cooper
he-
just
they-
passed
Not
away
long ago,
last
yeah.
year.
They were
Yeah.
the big draws
Yeah.
too at
Yeah.
that time.
We had your Coogan Laws.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
two
Child of
famous
Money.
movie people came out of Marshall Field?
Freddie Bartholomew died too.
Dorothy Lamour, I know, is one.
Vincent Minnelli.
Who?
Aha, Vincent
Vincent
Minnelli.
Minnelli.
I didn't know that.
He
What
was a window dresser, and then he went to Belbin and Katz, became a costume designer.
is that right? Yeah, that was his. Yeah.
He was
You know-
originally from around Grandin Halstead. They were a poor family.
No
They-
kidding. Yeah.
Do they used to beat him up over there or what?
No, come on.
Dorothy
you
Lamour
Irish
was
guys.
the
In
operator of
fact,
the
I had a.
elevator.
She was the elevator.
I heard a story about Dorothy Lamour from someone big into clergy and the agents, and they always had the pretty elevator operators at Fields, and the agents approached her and they saw this gal who had the darker coloring, and they said, you know, we're Hollywood guys, and this is maybe 34, 35.
Yeah, she was there during the Century Progress.
And
yeah.
she said, well, I don't know. Well, she contacted a relative that was very big in the Catholic Church, and I heard rumors that he used to one time run the church on Paulina Street, Annunciation off of North Avenue near Wabansia,
Yeah, I
maybe.
know. Yeah, it's gone.
And he knew everybody, made some calls, legit. They're
Yeah.
Hollywood agents. Go ahead with this, and
Yeah.
we're going to look out for you on this
Yeah.
contract and everything.
Well, they
Yeah.
say the thing that really attracted him was that she was running this elevator wearing a sarong. That was what really drew their attention.
Really?
To it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, I think
No.
It was so out of the ordinary.
Yeah. She had a bonfire in the back of
I
the
think you're
elevator.
so wrong about that.
Yeah, what's so wrong about a sarong? Huh?
Okay, this
That's as
brings
good a
us.
story as
Okay,
Lana Turner.
here's a natural for you: neighborhood theaters. We all used to have neighborhood theaters.
Yes.
You had
Just
your
talked about
big
it.
shows downtown, right? And then you had your medium size. Then you had this. Eventually, the shows would trickle down and get the features down there. And can anybody remember some of the ones they used to go to?
Oh, are you kidding?
This way, the portage and the patio are strong on the northwest side.
Yeah. Mine, we had a whole bunch. I grew up around North in Cleveland. We had the Plaza Theater, the Kino, which, yeah.
The German?
German, and
Yeah.
they used to show German.
Was that North Avenue?
Yeah, North and Orchard. And what now is the Park West was called the Lane Court, and because Orleans Street there was called Lane Court. And we had the Windsor at Division and Clark. And then I would walk up to Diversey and Clark to, for
Century.
the Century, the Parkway, the Colvent.
The which one?
Colvent.
Where was that?
Right at, it was the farthest one south. If you want an address, it's just north of the post office.
On the same side of the street?
Yeah, there's a driveway into,
Yeah, yeah.
that was the entrance to the theater. You know the parking lot behind?
Yeah.
That's where the theater was. And then we'd walk up to the Biograph at Lincoln and Fullerton and Halsted, and then across the street was a little theater called the Crest. And it just closed a couple of years ago. And
But that was had another name then, didn't it?
it did have another name, and I can't...
Three Penny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Three
That's
Penny.
it.
Yeah.
It's down Lincoln Hall for the big music
Yeah.
group that's owned by Shubas.
That was such a. It was run so unprofessionally. My brother and I were there. We wanted to see some Laurel and Hardy stuff. Snowing out. They're trying to talk us into leave, so they'll give us some passes. I said to him, "We don't even know if this place will be open next week." So we stayed. Somebody else came in. It was snowing out like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
The Biltmore Theater is famous 50s or 60s on Division Street for an incident that took place over there. Anybody remember
Which is
what?
it now?
Biltmore, sure. It was like 2020, maybe, just west of Damon.
Yeah,
On what?
right. Division
West
Street near Hoyne.
Richard Carpenter was, Richard Carpenter and I were in 5th grade together at St. Michael's. And he lived in the 700 block of Schiller, and he shot and killed a policeman, actually in the subway, like
Yeah.
Washington subway. And then he shot another policeman, what was his name, Phelan or something? He later was a police captain at Hudson Avenue.
What year did this happen? 50s?
Yeah, early
I have a
50s,
vague
51,
recollection.
52, and he was spotted. And he used to rob.
Currency exchange.
Well, no, it was taverns at night. They kept come there after midnight, where they still had most of the money in the till. And there was nobody in the place, and he'd rob it, and then he would sleep in the theaters. He'd stay there all, he'd go
And
there
you
after supper, until they closed, and then he'd go rob someplace. He was identified. He shot this policeman, went around the corner, kept the family up for hostage.
On Potomac Street.
Potomac, yeah. And the young girl got out. He fell asleep. Eventually, she called the police.
And he surrendered peacefully.
Yeah.
And,
Did he shoot and kill the cop? Or?
what?
Yeah, he shot. In fact,
Did he get a life sentence, or was
no,
he?
he went to the electric chair.
Oh, he did. Okay.
What happened? He was in the Washington Street subway, and there's an off-duty police officer with his wife and a couple of kids. Spots him, attempts to make an arrest alone. They each pull out their guns, and the police officers, the bullets are welded into the barrel or into the revolver, And that's why, when you go to the range and et cetera, they say throw your bullets away, because as a result of that, he fired, and he pulled the trigger, it didn't fire, and then he did it a second time, and finally they were grappling, and Carpenter got his gun out, and he had to shoot and kill him because he knew the cop was going to kill him.
He killed the cop.
He killed the cop, and the policeman tried to make an arrest off duty
With his
by
family.
himself with his family. Yeah.
And we just lost the oldest prisoner in
Yes.
Illinois.
Yes,
Yeah.
William Hearns.
William
Yes,
Hearns.
yes.
I
Yes,
just talked
that-
about him in class. What a
It's-
terrible.
Yeah, I'm
Was it
reiterating.
68 years in prison? 48 about to?
65, I think. He was 17 and he
Yeah.
was 82. So 65 years or so in jail.
And I don't know if you remember one of our last get-togethers. I was telling the panel we were on tragedy at the time. My dad knew Mr. Degnan, and but it was after all of that took place. Susan, his daughter, the light in your house was the big issue about when you leave your house, leave a light on. And that's when that became a very dominant thing.
Yeah.
Because if you remember when you left your house, are all the lights out? Is
Yeah,
the
sure.
doors closed?
Yeah.
So now it was like, leave your light on,
Yeah.
May I just interject something
Please.
about shows?
Sure.
Raised around North Avenue in Cicero. We had a show on Armitage in Cicero, Blago's neighborhood, and it was called The Main Show. You could get in for 10 cents.
Was this just west of Cicero Avenue?
Yes.
Okay, little show, right?
Yes.
Then
Yeah.
One aisle. seats on each side,
Oh
side
my
of that
God!
one
So what?
aisle.
Like under 500 type of people?
Oh, possibly
Even less?
even maybe 100 to 150. It was a small little place, but the whole idea was every Saturday, if you could, that's the show you went to, and they had these serials where
Oh, sure.
they just about got killed, and next week you're gonna
You're right,
there you
right,
are. So you had to get back and see it.
Yeah.
But as we walked out of that theater, we would get a dish.
Dish
Yeah,
night.
it was dish night
Dish
and
night,
or
yeah.
dish day, whatever, and you would make up a whole set of dishes. Now you didn't pay for that; you got that, and then you got possibly a newer peanut butter that was out, a movie star's picture, and maybe sometime a bubble gum or something like that. And then another show we would run to if we could had the chance, where all the westerns were, West End Theater on Cicero, and I think it was Eddie right in that area. No, Eddie is.
Yeah,
No.
Eddie's
But
up
anyway,
by,
it was
Was
south
farther-
of me on
The Luna was.
where were
Yeah,
you?
the
Where were you at around
North
our,
and Cicero.
oh, North and Cicero?
But,
I think the West End was down around Washington, maybe.
Yeah, that's West
Yeah.
End
Area
or
south.
Madison.
Yeah,
Street.
From,
Madison.
Madison.
And then when you say Madison, we used to also go over to the Marlboro Theater
Big
Yeah.
theater.
to take pictures by the grand piano, so that when we would show somebody something, we would impress them. This is our furniture.
Oh, this is a front
So-
room, yeah.
That was a real movie.
Yeah,
yeah,
but
that
it was
was-
a gorgeous theater.
That wasn't the Marlborough, the way they
No.
spell it in England.
Marlborough?
It's Marbro, right?
Yeah.
Marlborough.
Marlborough.
Yeah.
Taken from the Marx Brothers,
Mar-
not the Groucho and Checo, but
Yeah,
one-
the Marx
this was
Brothers.
But-
kind of a rival to Balbin and Katz in the early years.
Yeah, but we had a reason for each theater. you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
and
That's where the Marlborough were the Marx Brothers, but
Exactly.
not the Marx
Right,
Brothers.
exactly.
yeah.
Marlborough.
That makes me think of 63rd and Halsted was billed as the second busiest corner in the world, whether or not it was, but there were like 7 movie theaters there. The Southtown being the main one was a palace.
Yeah,
I remember going there with my sister when I was younger.
Fish pond?
yeah.
Fish
yeah,
pond.
Fish pond.
There's swans. There was an
What,
area.
live swans?
There was a a nursery area, leave the kids,
Yeah.
swings and all this, and it was obviously the first run type theaters. It was later on. It was a
Department store,
Yeah,
right?
it was,
Yeah,
yeah.
I want to call it that, junk store really. I actually made some.
What were the
restaurants
other
there.
theaters there? Because we
I'm trying to think now. There was,
Capitol. Am I thinking right?
Capital was on 79th and
79th
Halsted.
Halsted, yeah. One was called, they changed name. The Englewood was one of
Inglewood, the
them. Boy.
there was a Hall Field, but that was Halsted.
Empress
and
or something, was it?
Empress, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Like 7 right around there.
We had fire alarm boxes in front of the
What
only
was
reason
the
I
one
know.
that they converted to the Holiday Ballroom later on? They made it a dance club right there on.
Well, that was in Jefferson Park, I think.
No,
Yeah.
there was no. We had the
Yeah.
South Side one.
79th and
Yeah.
Kedzie?
No, on Halsted Street.
Yeah, I don't recall. I'm not that good, although I could get
Would
out
it be
there.
the Hall Field?
There was a Hall Field, but that was near
55th
Garfield.
and-
Yeah,
No, okay.
Halsted Garfield. Yeah, yeah,
No, that I'm.
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, another one was the Paradise. Theater
Paradise,
on
yeah.
was it Pulaski in Washington area,
Yeah,
right
right,
in there.
exactly.
Very elegant. And then they sold all their, when they closed down, they sold all their statues and
Yeah.
whatever paraphernalia to the Ferraro Manor,
those were-
which was a wedding
Were those
hall.
all Belbin and
It
kids? No.
Used to be a
No,
yeah,
I don't think.
It used
I
to
don't
be
think
our
so.
Cicero and
Central and North.
Central and North Avenue. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was at a company Christmas party there.
But and that used to be our manor show.
Uh-huh.
That was the
Manor.
manor,
theater?
and now then it became a wedding hall.
Yeah.
So
That's still there?
I think it is. Yes.
it might be. I haven't been in that neighborhood, but yeah, and
Stay out of
Yeah.
and going to the show, you can all remember this. You really had to be on time for the picture. And if there was a seat left, an usher took you down the aisle with a flashlight
Remember
to find you a
Yeah.
He was dressed
find you a seat.
dressed kind of like Johnny from Philip Morris.
Yes,
Yeah,
you're
right.
right. You know,
Little cap.
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
uh-huh. So it was a pleasure to go to
Oh, yeah.
the show, and you enjoyed it. And
Air conditioned.
oh,
That's right.
oh
Yeah.
Lord, when that first came out too. Yeah.
That was the reason to go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That
Probably
was
the
that
grandest.
theater downtown that all they did was news.
News
Newsreel was
The Today.
and one called the Loop.
Well, the Today, wasn't it?
Yeah.
today.
On
State
Madison?
Street,
No, I'm not thinking the one on.
One is on State
State,
Street,
yeah.
just south of the Chicago.
Yeah.
across
That
from the
was
State
called
Lake, I believe.
The Loop.
The Loop. And
Loop Theater, yeah.
Today was on Madison. It was
Right.
just an hour show. It was all news.
Eyes and ears of the world.
Eyes and ears of the world, right?
Yeah, they had. Well, of course, you had Universal had
Yeah, right, yeah.
newsreels, Fox Movietone News, Warner
Yeah.
Brothers Pathé.
Yeah.
Of course, in those days, now it meant something. Now it's on the internet in 5 minutes
Yeah.
or something. So you don't really
Yeah,
need
it truly was news.
The
We
late
didn't know.
'60s, they still had newsreels. I remember we were visiting. Me and some friends were in Geneva, Wisconsin, and of course we're old enough to drink there and all that. But anyway, we went in one theater, and here was a Universal newsreel, just a new one.
Yeah.
So it's 1967. So
Wow.
less than that long.
And the history goes, and I think I tie it in with Wicker Park when Carl LeMay lived in Wicker Park. Later
You
went
did?
on to
Didn't know that.
yeah, he went. That lady did the big book in Wicker Park.
Oh
that
yeah,
said,
Elaine Corns.
Yeah, and the thing in Italians, and I've researched it. And he started with a little Nickelodeon on Milwaukee Avenue, early 1900s.
No kidding.
Later to Universal Studios.
Yeah. Did all the horror movies, Frankenstein, Dracula, Carl LeMille.
Carl Lumley.
Lumley. LeMille was the way they.
Lumley is the real name.
How you? I always pronounced LeMay, but you're saying
Yeah.
LeMille, and what?
Lumley.
Yeah, it was LAEMMLE or something.
2 double L E. Yeah.
Yeah, and you say, how do is it? But I've heard it pronounced, on.
He
on
founded
TV.
Universal.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
LeMille. Yeah.
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 A distinctive
hey.
theater downtown. Some of us remember the old Clark Theater.
Oh,
Hark,
yes.
hark, the Clark.
Clark the Clark.
The ladies' balcony changing features every day.
Every
Wasn't
day.
that in the Planters Hotel?
That's right. Yeah,
It was
that's
next
right.
door. Was number 11 North.
Didn't they
Clark
run a
Street.
few of those theaters for a while as 24-hour places
Yeah, I
I think
downtown?
it was
That was-
24.
Yeah. The Clark was.
24
yeah.
hour.
Well, I think they closed for about 2 hours at 3 in the morning to clean
To
up.
get rid. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wake
so
up
it's 22
everybody.
hour
Wake up
theater.
the drunks.
You were talking about Wicker Park. Mike Todd's from Wicker Park, and of course he made what was it, Around the World in
80 days. That's right.
days.
Todd A.O.
Todd A.O.
Todd A.O.
He had his and
Didn't Walt Disney live on Trip there about the 17
he was
to
born there,
2000,
but
or
he moved out. He was like 3 or
They
4.
moved to
Oh, was
Kansas
he?
City.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
came back though. He
He
came
came
back.
back. Yeah.
McKinley High School.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Lived on Ogden Avenue. Ogden
Remember when you
Madison.
could go to the theater and pay the fee, which was probably then $1. This is downtown, and your movie star, your stage
Well,
show,
that's right, the
your
stage
big
show.
orchestra, and you could stay all day. I mean, if that was going to start over, you could stay.
stay.
Nobody told you go home or
No.
leave here or
Who had
get a new.
the big stage shows? Was it?
Chicago Theater, State
Oriental.
Lake, Oriental, Randolph.
I knew the manager of
State Lake.
the Oriental, Mickey Gold, passed away maybe 10 years ago now. But he had started as an usher there. His brother was the columnist in Sun Times, that Mickey Gold. Oh, no, Eddie Gold. I'm
Eddie
saying.
Gold.
Yeah.
Eddie, I loved his
Yeah.
column. This guy knew more sports trivia than anybody in the world.
He started as an usher and he closed the place. I almost put a ticket on his car one time.
Yeah.
That's how I met him originally. But then you'd see him at these different movie shows or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And we're getting a signal from the control room,
Uh-oh.
the control booth, that it's time
The
for
lights.
a BREAK.
Yeah.
So we're going to go out onto the swings and onto the little recess, the teeter-totters and stuff for a few minutes. We'll be back, folks.